We plan our lives in 7-day cycles. Work, rest, repeat. But have you ever stopped to wonder why it's 7 days? Why not 5 or 10? It seems so natural, but it's not. A day is one spin of the earth. A year is one trip around the sun. The week is different. It's not tied to any natural phenomenon. It's a completely human invention. It's a story that's thousands of years old. A detective story starring ancient gods, the planets, and a powerful creation myth that still shapes every single week of your life. The clues are scattered across crumbling empires, sacred texts, and even the words we use for the days. So, how did we get the 7-day week? To find the answer, we have to travel back in time, not just centuries, but millennia, to the very cradle of civilization. This isn't just a story about a calendar. It's about how we've always looked up at the stars and tried to find meaning, order, and a rhythm to live by. Our story starts over 4,000 years ago in ancient Mesopotamia, the land we now call Iraq. Here, civilizations like the Sumerians and later the Babylonians weren't just building the world's first cities, they were humanity's first true astronomers. Long before telescopes, they would stand atop their ziggurats, those massive temple towers, and just watch the sky. They charted the heavens with a patience that's hard to imagine today. And they noticed something. Among the thousands of fixed stars, 7 celestial bodies moved differently. There was the sun, the moon, and 5 wandering stars. What we now know are the planets Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. To the Babylonians, these weren't just balls of rock and gas. They were gods, divine beings who steered the fate of humanity. And their number, 7, became incredibly important. It seemed to pop up everywhere, from the 7 stars of the Pleiades to the 7 stars of the Big Dipper, reinforcing the idea that this number was special. This reverence for the number 7, mixed with their sky watching, became the bedrock of the 7-day week. The Babylonians used a calendar that tried to sync up the moon's cycles with the solar year. A full lunar cycle, from one new moon to the next, is about 29.5 days. That's a messy number. But they noticed that the moon passes through its 4 major phases: new moon, first quarter, full moon, and third quarter in intervals of roughly 7 days. It's not exact, of course. Each quarter is closer to 7.4 days, but 7 was a good enough approximation. And more importantly, it was a divinely significant number. So, they divided the lunar month into 4 7-day periods. To handle the leftover day or two from the 29.5-day cycle, they'd simply add them at the end of the month. But the core rhythm was set, a week of 7 days. This wasn't just about scheduling, though. For the Babylonians, this cycle had deep religious meaning. They marked certain days as unlucky, or evil days, when it was a bad idea to start a new project or make a wish. The 7th day, in particular, was often a day of rest, when officials were forbidden from certain tasks. In the smoky temples and dusty observatories of ancient Babylon, the first blueprint for our week was drawn a blend of astronomy and astrology, math and mysticism. It was a powerful idea, and it was about to begin a long journey, getting a major rewrite from another group of people living under Babylonian rule. Running alongside the Babylonian astronomical story is a powerful religious one that would do more than anything to lock the 7-day week into Western consciousness. This is the story of the ancient Jewish people and the Sabbath. The Torah, the foundational text of Judaism, opens with one of the most famous stories ever told, the creation of the world. God works for 6 days, creating everything. And on the 7th day, God rests. That single act of divine rest made the 7th day holy, setting it apart from all the others. This wasn't a suggestion. It was a command. Observing a 7-day week that ends in a day of complete rest became a cornerstone of Jewish life and identity. And here's the radical innovation. Unlike the Babylonian week, which was tied to the moon's phases, The Jewish week was a continuous, unbreakable cycle. It just kept rolling, one 7-day block after another, completely independent of the stars. It was a unit of time based purely on religious and cultural tradition. So where did this tradition come from? The Bible gives the theological origin, but many historians point to a key moment in Jewish history, the Babylonian exile. After the destruction of the First Temple around 586 BCE, a large part of the Jewish population was forcibly relocated to Babylon. For decades, they lived in the heart of an empire, where a 7-day cycle was already part of the culture. During this time, it's believed a cultural exchange took place. The Jewish people, while fiercely guarding their own identity, would have been exposed to Babylonian timekeeping and their reverence for the number 7. Some scholars have long argued that the existing Babylonian 7-day cycle was likely adopted and reinterpreted through a uniquely Jewish theological lens, creating the idea of the fixed, continuous Sabbath week. So now you have two powerful traditions flowing side by side, the Babylonian astronomical week and the Jewish religious week. One was based on watching planets, the other on divine law. For a while, they were separate streams. But as empires rose and fell, these two ideas would eventually merge, and it would happen inside the biggest empire the world had ever seen. The 7-day week was about to go global, under the eagle standard of Rome. As Alexander the Great's armies swept across Asia in the 4th century BCE, the idea of a 7-day week tied to the 7 planets started to filter from the Near East into the Greek-speaking world. But the real launchpad for the week's world tour was Rome. Funnily enough, for most of their history, the Romans didn't use a 7-day week. They had an 8-day cycle called the nundinal cycle, a market week. Farmers would work for 7 days and come to the city on the 8th day to sell their goods. This was the rhythm of Roman life for centuries. But as the Roman Empire grew, it soaked up ideas from all over, especially the East. By the 1st century BCE, the 7-day week started showing up in Italy, arriving through both Greek astrology and the growing Jewish communities. For a while, the old 8-day market week and the new 7-day planetary week actually coexisted. The Romans, who were practical but also deeply superstitious, were fascinated by the astrological week. The idea that each day was ruled by a god in the sky was irresistible. So they adopted the Babylonian system, but put their own Roman spin on it, swapping in their own gods. The day of the moon became Dies Luna. The day of Mars became Dies Martis. Mercury's day was Dies Mercuri. Jupiter's was Dies Iovis. Venus's was Dies Veneris. And Saturn's was Dies Saturni. The day of the sun was Dies Solis. You can still hear these Roman names echoing clearly in languages like Spanish, French, and Italian. For a few centuries, this planetary week was mostly used for astrology, but its popularity kept growing. Then, one emperor made a decision that sealed the deal. In 321 CE, Emperor Constantine the Great officially adopted the 7-day week for the Roman Empire. His law declared that on the venerable day of the sun, that Sunday people in cities should rest from their work. This was a brilliant political move. Making Sunday the day of rest appealed to multiple groups at once. For pagans who worshipped Sol Invictus, the unconquered sun, the day of the sun was already a big deal. At the same time, it aligned with the practices of the rapidly growing Christian faith, which had started observing Sunday as the Lord's Day to honor the resurrection. Constantine's law was the tipping point. It made the 7-day cycle the official timekeeping system of the most powerful empire in the world. The old 8-day market week faded away. From here, the week's takeover of Europe seemed unstoppable. But as it traveled north, it was about to get a makeover from a whole new pantheon of gods. As the Roman Empire pushed into the forests of northern Europe, they met the Germanic peoples, including the Anglo-Saxons and the Norse. These cultures had their own calendars and their own awesome gods of war, wisdom, and thunder. When they encountered the Roman 7-day week, they didn't just copy it. They translated it. They looked at the Roman gods for each day and swapped in their own closest equivalents. This is the reason the English days of the week sound so different from their Latin cousins. Sunday and Monday are pretty straightforward. The Roman sun's day, dies solis, became the Old English sun and dag. Moon's day, dies lunae, became monende. Simple enough. But this is where it gets fun. Tuesday was the Roman dies Martis, Mars's day. Mars was the god of war. The Norse looked at their pantheon and picked Tyr, a one-handed god of combat and justice. So Mars's day became T's day in Old English, which eventually softened into Tuesday. Every time you say Tuesday, you're giving a nod to an ancient Norse god of war. Next up, Wednesday, from the Roman dies Mercury, Mercury's day. Mercury was the messenger god, associated with travel and trickery. The Germanic peoples chose their head honcho, Woden, better known in Norse mythology as Odin. Odin the Allfather was a complex god of wisdom, magic, and war, but he was also a great wanderer who roamed the 9 realms in disguise. It was this wandering, knowledge-seeking side that likely connected him to Mercury. Woden's day, or Woden'sdag, slurred over the centuries into Wednesday. Then came Thursday, the Roman dies Iovis, Jupiter's day. Jupiter was king of the gods, master of the sky, and crucially, thunder. This was an easy one. The Norse god of thunder was the mighty, hammer-wielding Thor. Jupiter's day became Thor's day, or Hinrisdag in Old English, giving us Thursday. Friday was dies Veneris, Venus's day, for the Roman goddess of love and beauty. The Norse equivalent was Frigg, the wife of Odin and goddess of marriage and motherhood. So Venus's day became Frigg's day, or Frigi in Old English, which gives us Friday. Finally, we get to Saturday, and here something different happened. The Roman name was dies Saturni, Saturn's day. For whatever reason, the Germanic peoples didn't swap Saturn out. The name just stuck. So Saturday's the one day of the week in English that keeps its original Roman god. Interestingly, in Old Norse, the day was called Laugardögr, or washing day, which suggests that for Vikings, Saturday was for baths. But in English, the Roman god held on. So our modern English week is a linguistic museum. 2 days for celestial bodies, sun, moon, 4 days for Norse gods, Tyr, Woden, Thor, Frigg, and 1 day for our Roman god, Saturn. From its roots in Babylon and its formalization by the Jews and Romans, the week was now perfectly positioned for world domination. The primary engines for its global spread were Christianity and Islam. Christianity carried the 7-day week, with Sunday as the day of worship, wherever its missionaries went. Islam, emerging from the same Near Eastern cultural soup, also observes a 7-day week, with Friday as the day for congregational prayer. As these religions spread, the week spread with them. In the modern era, European colonialism and the rise of global trade finished the job. To do business in a globalizing economy, countries around the world adopted the 7-day week as the standard for commerce, government, and daily life. People have tried to change it. During the French Revolution, radical reformers tried to decimalize time and introduced a 10-day week to break from tradition. In the 20th century, the Soviet Union experimented with 5-day and 6-day weeks to try and boost industrial output. Both experiments failed spectacularly. The 7-day cycle was just too deeply woven into the fabric of life. A 4,000-year-old habit, it turns out, is a tough one to break. So there you have it. Every time you glance at your calendar, you're looking at a document with 4,000 years of history packed into it. The rhythm of your life, the work week. The weekend is an echo of Babylonian priests gazing at the heavens, a tradition given sacred meaning in ancient Judea, spread by Roman legions and translated by Viking Age storytellers. The day is a planetary spin. The year is a celestial journey, but the week? The week is all human. It's a testament to our undying need to find order in chaos, to create patterns that give our lives structure. And so, the next time you're counting down the minutes to the weekend, take a second to remember Thor and Frigg and Saturn. You're taking part in an ancient story that, against all odds, now defines the rhythm of the entire world. If you enjoyed this journey back in time, be sure to subscribe and hit that like button. Let us know in the comments if there are any other everyday mysteries you'd like us to solve. And check out our other videos dissecting the incredible histories behind the things we all take for granted. Thanks for watching.